Okay, so Silas here. So those was three different kinds of trees here in Nairobi, and they're all the same kind of organism, but they find different ways to reproduce, different ways to continue its own genetic code or whatever. And I just have another reminder. Somebody commented on one of my older videos about evolution, where I was saying, what is evolution? The question itself of asking what's going on is actually evolution in and of itself. And what is, how do I do this? How do I get to do what I want to do? Is what drives evolution. And what is the central thing that things try to do? I think that's reproduce. And now when you take that, pretty much everything human beings do, driving that car, having a kiosk like that, me taking a walk like this, wearing the clothes that you're wearing, doing exercise, building walls like that, planting banana trees like you see there. These kind of things are all things that human beings do. And everything they've done is a part of their evolution. The different ways we do different things is part of humans' evolution. And I think the main driving force for these things is to find a better way to reproduce the entire human race, whether it's the individual humans themselves, the actions they do, or the first gene that you could say this was a human gene, found a way to reproduce itself. And part of that is creating the 8 billion or whatever number of people that are in the universe now. I mean, probably in the universe, because I guess we don't know yet if there's other human beings in other planets. Now that's another question. Even if there was somebody biologically similar to us on another planet somewhere else in the universe, would they be considered human beings, or do human beings have to exist here on Earth themselves? Well, anyway, so that's a tangent. But back to what I was saying. Everything we do is part of our evolution, is how we've evolved, and I think it's all central for reproduction. So even when you look at the size of a government, even if you look at the way different people play music, the way different people eat, different cuisines, different institutions, even those that are not necessarily their institution itself, the state itself is not an organism, but without organisms it doesn't exist. So when you get to that point, when you think about it that way, then technically isn't it an organism? Because if something wouldn't exist without organisms, like that rock would exist as a rock without organisms. But a state itself, would that exist? So this is a guava tree. They seem to have a very symbiotic relationship with... Symbiotic might not be the right term, but they have this relationship where I haven't seen a guava tree that doesn't have ants just walking all over it. So when as kids we used to climb guava trees. I mean, guava trees are normally this size. Not normally this size, but they're not that large often, and they still give you the guava fruits. But as you can see, it's truly covered with ants. And there's different kind of trees, different kind of plants that have this relationship with ants. I've seen ants on several trees, and I think they make their home inside them. You can see kind of in there. So not just termites that do this. Termites do it and like eat out the tree and kill it. I'm not quite sure what the positive aspects for the guava tree this having ants on it is, or if ants just found it useful for a home for themselves. But it's literally just covered in ants, and they're just scurrying away. I thought it was kind of cool. You guys might find it cool too. Not quite sure. But this is what I was thinking. It's one of those things where if you have less... But that's the thing. Okay, now with these ants, with bees, the things they say is they fled from flower to flower, spreading the pollen. Now these ants, I don't know if these ants ever go from one tree to another tree. Do they ever go on the flowers when the flowers are there? And you can see here, starting to bud. Those are tiny little guavas coming up. And they're all over the tree. And in my experience, not this many come out on those sections, so I think those might be the flowers. And then I'll turn to the guavas, or when they're still this tiny size and they grow, they don't all grow to large size. I'll try to find some later on if I can see some that have the guavas already ripe and full and ready to be picked. But possibly when they're this size, birds and things like that can come and eat them when they're still tiny. And then the ones that stay to grow larger, those are eaten by larger animals, including human beings. But I thought this was kind of cool. And there are these little things. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to get... There are these little... Sorry, it's not focusing well. But there's these small little white things on the tree as well. I think they might actually be other bugs. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, they might be other bugs on this. Kind of cool. Never actually checked. Yeah, right there. You see those little white ones? They might be other bugs. I'm going to pick something up and try to check. Sorry, little ants. I don't want to take you off from your homes. But I think those little white things actually are some bugs of some sort. They don't seem to be part of the tree. Yeah, that's it. That's a guava tree. Okay, this is an example of a silkwood tree. The stem of the tree itself is rather thorny, so is the bark, but you can see these little circular things. Those are the seeds, and look, they open up into this really fluffy, cottony type thing. That's I think why they call it silkwood or something. I think it's a silkwood tree. I'm pretty sure. I'll double check. But it opens into those things, and they fall down, and they make these little fluffy balls. And as you can see, the seed is in there. It's really fluffy. This feels like cotton, right? It's silky. So this is, I think this is, you see right there. So the seed kind of chills in these things, and then it gets carried by the wind. Somewhat windy, so you can see kind of how it goes like that. And they just spread around. You can see it looks like kind of just a bit like snow. But these are really cool trees. You can see how big the stalks get, how intertwined it is in there. Some of the coolest trees I've seen. And it's cracking through the wall they built around there. Okay, they built the wall and the tree just kind of came through. But yeah, this is one of my favorite trees in Nairobi. Here's an example of the seed. So you see there's a husk on the outside. It's very light. This is not really thick wood or thick substance. So it splits open into these pieces. Those come out, float around, and they have really cool pink leaves. I'll try to upload an image of the, not leaves, I mean really cool pink flowers. I'll try to upload a picture of that from one I took before. But yeah, really cool tree, silkwood tree. This is the size they normally go. This is like a full grown one. They normally go to this size. And you see them a lot in Nairobi. There's a silkwood tree in full bloom over there. It's a rainbow right above it. I saw just some of the poofs of snow on the ground here. And then whenever I see those, I kind of look around and say, okay, where's the tree? Okay, well, there was one on the street about down there, but the closest tree I see is over there. So this kind of shows some of the distance that some of these things can go to. You figure at least the height of it, and it's just from it's the ground over there. That guy was definitely speeding. People don't normally drive that fast here. But, yeah. Okay, here we're going to get a closer look at the jacaranda tree. And it's very purple flowers. There's a bee in there right now going about eating and helping to pollinate the process. I had mentioned before that in a previous video, I might actually include it with this video, about different ways of pollinating plants, how there's ants on the guava tree, but then of course bees are the most common suspects in the whole pollination game. And here you can see a bee kind of climbing into the flowers, and there's just tons and tons of flowers. I had mentioned before also that you don't really see the leaves much, but then here's an example of some of the leaves. tiny leaves again. Try to find one of the cases of the seeds. No, can't really find one, but there's one up there. Right up there in the center of the screen is one of the seed pods. Can't really see it too well from up here. I'll see if I can find one on the ground and then come back and get it. But the jacaranda tree is a very typical tree in Nairobi. Okay, here we go. Got lucky and found one. So this is a seed pod of a jacaranda tree. As you can see, there's this hard wooden bark. And then it splits open. It's not the easiest to do, but it cracks open on its own. And you can see the interior has the seeds on small little wings of sorts, these transparent wings. And then they open up and they set the leaves to the, set the seeds to the winds. And the winds carry the leaves off. The seeds off, sorry, I keep saying leaves. But yeah, this is the interior of a jacaranda tree seed pod. So as I was mentioning with the silkwood, I might actually include this with the silkwood. Yeah, I'll put this in a video with the silkwood tree, the guava tree, and here's the jacaranda tree. See the different ways that you see the seeds and the reproductive process of a tree, different kinds of trees here in Nairobi. But it's interesting thing to understand how different living beings go through different ways of reproducing. This tree got a lot more leafy since I was first here, because it's rained.